Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. A little on the chilly side this morning. Temperatures dropped all day yesterday. Down in the 20s last night. Lots of wind, even just a little bit of snow. But not too bad. It's actually a good temperature for a brisk walk in the woods. Now before everyone beats me up, or at least some of you, at the title of this video that we will lose a war with China, or China will beat us in a war. Hear me out, because I have things to say about that. And I know that there's still a lot of people that say, no way. They just don't have, they can't get all their troops over here. You know, their technology's just not quite developed. They don't have the big navies that we do, that advanced and all that kind of stuff. They may not be able to beat us today, who knows, possibly, but I think eventually they will. And I have some things to say about that, and we'll get to it. Then more craziness happened. More craziness, more derailments, more chemical fires, just more. And it's probably going to just continue to happen. I'm not saying get used to it. I'm just saying it's probably going to just continue to happen. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but this past week they had the World Government Summit. Usually have that in a few weeks after the World Economic Forum's Davos annual meeting. And the World Government Summit is, you know, it's like the little sister. It's all these nations coming together, figuring out how they can take over the world. That kind of thing. And there was a panel speaking. There's this video floating around. And they're like, how can we transition? How are we going to do this transition from this old world order to this new world order? We have to transition, and the only way that there is that there has to be a great shock. There has to be a great shock that happens, that transitions people, and until they accept this new world order. I mean, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but not too far off. This other guy says, well, there's already been this shock. It's already happening. There's murders and death and destruction everywhere. It's already happening. Huh. That sounds familiar. Kind of like what I've been saying for a while on here. All this stuff that you're seeing happen, it's real. It hurts people. It destroys things. It's affecting the environment. It's affecting, you know, croplands and people will probably be sick, you know, 20 years from now. Probably people getting cancer from things. All this stuff's happening. It's all for a purpose, though. It's creating so much chaos and confusion to establish a world order. It's interesting that they said this, like right on stage, right out in the open. They say the quiet part out loud. Why? Because they're so overly confident that what they're doing is going to be effective, so they don't care anymore. They know people aren't really paying attention to them, and they say it. Which is pretty much what yesterday my wife and I did an hour-long fireside chat over on Rumble. That's, for the most part, what we were saying, is that this is all being done. They have to destroy it. They have to bring it down to nothing, so that people are in such a panic and such pain and hurt and confusion and fear, so that when they start saying, but we have a solution, it's so radical, it's just going to blow your mind. It's this horrible solution that no one in their right mind would accept, but because things are really bad right now, you'll accept it. That's basically what they said. On to the China thing. I just had to rant for a couple of minutes. There's this video going around. Again, another video. And I don't know if I can show it. I was going to, but I'm a little cautious because here lately, I don't know if you've been hearing, YouTube's changed their way that they handle videos with guns in them. And you can shoot a gun in video, but you can't Well, at least some people. You can't take it apart, put it back together. You can't load a magazine in it. You can't put a suppressor on the end of it. If you show you doing that in a video, then it's, building a gun and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know if I can show this video. I'll probably just put some screenshots of it over here. And it's a boys' school in China. And they look to be probably second, third graders. And, probably 8 to 10 years old. And they're taking apart and putting back together pistols. In school, training how to do that. This is what I mean when I say China will defeat us in a war. Again, can they do it today? If war broke out today, is China capable of defeating us today? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It's possible, it's possibly not. But in the end, if we don't completely, I don't mean decimate them, but defeat them quick, soon, will they defeat us eventually? The next generation or two, when all the children that they're raising up to know how to use a gun at 10 years old, and all the children that we are raising up as a nation, maybe not as you and I, but as a nation, we're more focused on teaching boys what kind of makeup to put on and what gender they're going to be that day, and how to appropriately tip a drag queen, stripper, whatever, at a show in a club. I mean, that's what they're doing. There's plenty of video evidence of that, if you don't believe me. It happens all the time, almost on a daily basis anymore. Teachers, just absolute insanity. I mean, they look like some kind of creepy horror film clown, and that's what's teaching children today in schools. That's where we are as a nation. China, on the other hand, they've taken a different route. A few years ago, it was in the news, and I said this is the beginning of the end when it comes to a conflict between us and China. The beginning of the end. Like him or not, Xi Jinping made what I figure was probably a pretty good decision as a leader. And he said, and again, I'm summarizing and paraphrasing. He said, boys and the children in China are becoming too weak. The boys are too feminized. They're not tough enough. They're not strong enough. And he issued some declaration that the education system had to change, that the way government policies, all this stuff. Now, of course, they're taking it from a communist viewpoint, and so they're going to force all this stuff on society. But the point is they observed that the future generations are going to be weaker because there's too much just weakness, that the boys need to be taught how to be boys, how to be men, because that's the way it's always been done. Go watch some of your old movies. I know they're not 100% accurate, but things like Old Yeller, and where the boys had to grow up fast sometimes. They had to defend the home. They had to help with hunting and taking care of the animals and building things at a young age. It made them tough. It made them into men. And they were taught that there was a very big distinction between a man and a woman. And learning how to fight, learning how to use a gun, all that kind of stuff was pretty commonplace. And out of that way of raising a child, we had the Greatest Generation and many others that were capable of going out and defending this great nation from whatever would happen. Well, now we're not doing that. We've got an adversary that's determined to be the leader of this new world order. The one that I spoke about in the first part of the video at the World Government Summit, where they're wanting to change everything, have a new world order. Well, guess who wants to be the top dog in that world order? China. They've said so. out in the open. They've said that quiet part out loud too. Well, how are they going to do it? Well, they have all kinds of ways of doing it. But they also play the long game. America never has. We don't play the long game. Whatever we do, we're doing it for whatever's happening at the moment. We don't think about long-term repercussions of it. Oh, it sounds good. It's feel good, at least apparently for some people, to allow a child to choose whatever gender they want to be, just like allowing them to figure out what to put on in the morning before they go to school. You know, they may come out as a wizard one day and a fireman the next day, but we're going to let them do it. Now we're going to let them choose whatever of the 50,000 different genders they want to be that day and encourage it. And also teach them that, you know, weakness is a virtue, that you should embrace being weak, that as a boy you shouldn't aspire to be a man, that you shouldn't have this embedded desire to protect and to provide and to preside over your family and your home. Oh no, that's a bad thing. And so while we're doing that with our next generation or two of potential warriors, China's doing the opposite. And China's actually teaching them how to be men and how to be warriors. Now, I know some of you say, well, I don't teach my child that way. Well, that's good. That's good. Unfortunately, there's not enough of us. I mean, look at the military today. They can't even get enough people to join right now. And what they have joined, from what I hear from very good sources of people that's recently been in and people that are currently in right now, say that it's gotten disgusting. How much weakness there is. How much of this far left woke mentality that's polluting the military and that's weakening it down. This is just going to get worse. I mean, think of what this current generation of children that are 10, 12 years old, what it's going to be like when they get to the point of being in the military. And then think of the same thing on the Chinese side. Those boys. Is it indoctrination? Is it brainwashing that they're doing? Probably. I don't doubt that. I'm not saying we should adopt their policies by any means. But I think we had it kind of figured out pretty good for, well, ever, by teaching a boy to be a boy and to be a man. And now we're not doing that. And so I summarize and hypothesize that in the end, eventually, we're going to lose. Whether it's an armed conflict or ideology or whatever. Look at the leadership we have in this country today. And I'm certainly not just talking about the Democrats. Because regardless of what political affiliations they have, the vast, vast majority of them are pathetic and don't deserve or have enough competency to be in charge of running a bake sale or something. And that's what we have as leaders. And we're raising up generations of just trying to choose my words. Father, help me, because I don't want to say something I probably shouldn't. Raising up generations of hyper childish, hyper self-focused, teaching them to indulge themselves into their wicked, selfish desires, and that in the end, being a tough, capable provider and protector is not just not necessary, it's not a virtue is what they're teaching, that it's actually a vice almost, that it's wrong, that it's bad. that's going to hurt us in the end. So whether or not you believe that we will be at war with China in the coming weeks or months, whether or not you believe that China could defeat us in that war that may or may not happen, my prediction is, and I don't do that too often, is that eventually they will defeat us, one way or the other. Because they are building up a generation of warriors. They're building up a generation of men. And how much different and how much more powerful will China become in the next generation or two versus America? Just think about it. This youth generation today that's being just forced into all of this ridiculous ideology, this ridiculous woke theories and stuff. What's it going to be like when they grow up? What's the world, what's America going to be like? They're the ones that's going to be running it. So, better get prepared, folks. Shock is happening. The shock is coming. All this stuff that you're seeing, it's coming. That's part of the New World Order. It's what they're doing. The shock and awe. It's to throw us off, to keep us busy, to keep us fearful and confused, so that their New World Order, where they can be masters of the universe, that's what Klaus Schwab said, is happening. And China wants to be the top dog. And America is too busy and too distracted worrying about which bathroom to choose and what balloons are flying over that day and how many of these train wrecks are typical and how many of them are not. I don't want to sound all down and depressed, but I don't think that the future is very good for us. I think this nation is definitely in decline. And whether it happens in my lifetime or not, we are watching this nation fall. And you need to get ready, folks. You need to get your house in order. You need to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.